Hello and welcome to the Charles Cook Podcast. The focus of this podcast is local and state issues here in the state of Tennessee. Today, my guest is Sherry Super. She's from Knoxville, Knox County, Moms for Liberty. And so wanted to have her on and talk about some of the things that's going on. So welcome, Sherry, and tell us about Moms for Liberty.
Well, thank you for having me, Charles. I really appreciate it. Moms for Liberty is a national organization. It started in 2021. Two moms started it when we all went through that COVID, and the masking was really on, on the news all the time. And we went through it here in Knox County too with the masks, but they started it to also because, these kids were coming home and they were online doing their schoolwork, and they were starting to see things that they didn't realize were happening in the classrooms. So it started with the two of them, and it is now they now have 300 chapters in 40 something states, and 130,000 members. So we took my friend and Vice Chair Sherry Garrett, we're the two Sherrys. We started it, picked it up about a month ago, and it had about 2 years ago, I was going to put in an application, apply to start a chapter chair here. And one of the other moms in the area, she got ahead of me and went through all the interview process and started it. And it kind of went after the mask stuff was over with, the group kind of just sat for a while. So we have relaunched it here. And we're already hitting the ground running and trying to get some things changed in the Knox County schools, and just also to educate parents about about legislatures, about their rights. We're just trying to make everybody know we're here.
Okay, good deal. And so far, how have y'all been perceived since you or received since you got the group up and going again?
Well, I mean, the moms are really excited about it, but the public, like I guess I would say the news and the school board, probably aren't as thrilled, because we made a little bit of a splash at the school board November 9th. But I think that once they realize we're not trying to do anything to harm them or to, be adversarial with them, we want to build relationships so that we can make some changes and give them the confidence to go ahead and change some of this stuff, because most people don't want to run the risk of being on the firing line. And so they don't, like, sometimes the school board members won't vote right like the way they should, because they're afraid that the leftists, crazy leftists, are going to come in and start screaming at them or writing emails and all that kind of stuff. And they just don't want to do it. And so if we have a group behind them, we can support them and get things done. And so they're not all by themselves standing out there to twist in the wind.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, and sort of equalize the pressure.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Because right now, most of the pressure is coming from one side.
Mm-hmm.
So, so when you got the group together, I had a question here, but it's left my mind. But so when you got the group together, what was some of the things that you all were concerned about in Knox County?
Well, in Knox County right now, our top priority is the explicit books that are in the libraries. Then we'd also like to see universal school choice in the state of Tennessee. And there are other chapters in Tennessee that we're working with, Moms for Liberty chapters, that have been working on legislation with the legislators. So that's kind of a good thing. And then there's so much that's going on in the schools with social emotional learning, CRT. You can go down the rabbit hole for hours trying to figure out what really is happening. And those are some of the other things that we're going to delve into, but I think one at a time. We need to tackle everything one at a time. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to accomplish anything. So right now we're spending our time going after the explicit sexual books that are in our kids' schools.
Yeah. So how did you find out that that there were books like this in Knox County schools?
Well, about a year ago, I was on Twitter, or whatever they call it now, and I saw Libs of TikTok, and they were putting these books out, about what's in the schools, and I thought that's horrendous. And so I just on a whim, I decided to look at the libraries in Knox County, and I went online and, one by one, and I started finding that these books were in our schools already, because, we live in a great little town, and people just think, well, that won't happen here. That's in a blue state, or, someplace else, but it's never going to get here. Well, it's here. And so I went online and went onto the online catalogs and looked them up. And then you have to kind of cross-reference everything to make sure that I don't want to say that it's an explicit book just because somebody else did. And you
Right.
kind of have to read through some of the excerpts and really look and see what they're talking about. And it's startling how graphic some of the stuff is. And these are for kids, that are 10, 11, 12 years old, and even, high schoolers. We think of high schoolers as being grown up, but these are like 14-year-olds, 14, 15, 16, when
Right.
they first get in there. And what's problematic, I think, is that our kids are being sexualized everywhere. They're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they have, online stuff out at their fingertips. And they're always being smacked with just overt sexuality. And I don't know about you, Charles, but we didn't have any of that. If we were to find any kind of, I guess, bad stuff to read, it would be in your friend's bathroom when,
Right.
whether it was a Playboy magazine or something. We didn't have it at our fingertips, and there was no way they were in the schools. That was just not going to happen. So I think some parents that are our age or a little bit younger, we just don't remember that kind of stuff. So it's hard, you just don't think to look for it.
Right. Well, I do know that, teenage boys and younger boys are curious, and, they will look if they have
Mhm.
that opportunity, for stuff like that. And when somebody tells them, I mean, that it's available in the school library, they're going to be curious to go find it. And, a lot of these teenagers, and, when we were, well, when I say we, when I
When we
was a
were growing up.
teenager, when I was a teenager, they didn't have uh, Playboy books or Hustler books or Penthouse books and stuff in the school libraries for us curious teenage boys to go look at the school.
Right.
Now,
Didn't mean you didn't find them someplace if you were really looking, right? But,
right,
you
but
know,
it wasn't available at the school.
right, right.
Um, so you said you went online.
Mhm.
So do parents have the ability to go online and see what books
Mhm.
are available in their child's school library?
Yeah, I mean, you can go right online and just put in a book or a title or an author's name, and it'll pull it all up. The problem is these books don't come with a cover that says this is a rapey book or this has graphic sex on the front of it. So parents don't really know what the book is. For instance, one that I read at the school board, or part of one that I read at the school board, is called The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And to me, that would mean like somebody who is a girl who's probably shy, and I'm thinking of a dance and used to call them wallflowers when they wouldn't want to get
Hmm.
out and mingle with people. So you don't realize that has sexual assault and in graphic detail. So parents are at a disadvantage. And the other thing is not every school has the same books.
Right.
And so you're hunting and pecking, and then in order to research it, you've got to check 2 or 3 different websites. So I mean, you really have to want to do this to find out, because there's otherwise it's very, very difficult. I'm not even sure the librarians know what's in their libraries. They're not going to read all these books when they get them. They're going to put them on the shelves and, you know, get them
They
get
get
them up there.
requests from kids to get them, or somebody requests them, and then they get them and put them on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And unless they're doing the research into it. So I know we've heard some of the talk on the news channels and stuff about these parents showing up at school board meetings, and they're radical parents. They want books banned. I will recall a post on WVLT's Facebook page last week where they said that Pink, the rock star Pink, was going to do a couple of shows in Florida, and while she was there, she was going to hand out books that was banned at her concerts. Now, this is how the media spreads misinformation. Okay.
Right.
None of those books were banned. Okay. Because if they were, they couldn't get them to pass them out. And if they were banned books and you were passing them out, you'd get in trouble. So they try to make it sound like that the governor there in Florida, Ron DeSantis, who has done a good job with some of this stuff, that he banned these books. Well, he didn't ban the books. All he did was say there's appropriate books for school and there's inappropriate books from school for schools, libraries, and we're going to take these out. Now, if you want to go to the bookstore and buy it for your child, or it's at the public library, that's something different. So do you all have anyone already starting to accuse you guys of being book banners or all this stuff?
I mean, not in public yet. I'll tell you, when we went to the school board meeting, there might have been 10 people there, and we were the last two speakers of the day. So I don't think anybody really had any time to prepare opposition or anything to us. So we've not caught the slack yet, but Moms for Liberty's, like, I guess it's the Southern Poverty Law Center, has declared us far right extremists, and we've been called book banners from almost the get-go. But like you said, these books are available in public libraries, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I mean, if we were having, I'd even have a problem if everybody was in my front yard throwing gasoline on these books and having a bonfire with them. I mean, nobody's trying to ban anything. We just want age appropriate content in our schools around our children. Like I said, they see this stuff everywhere. What it does is it normalizes, the sexualization becomes normalized. And then, girls are at a higher risk for being a victim of sexual assault. I mean, in Knox County, 1 of 4 girls has been sexually assaulted. I mean, and so when you keep putting all this, I think, garbage in front of the kids, it's not just because we're prudes and we don't, we're just so straight laced that we can't stand the thought of these books being in the schools. This is really dangerous. And it also sets them up for, being victims of pedophiles. People, when sex is nothing and you hear it all the time and you see it all the time, then you don't really have that danger, that warning sign in yourself to say, this person is dangerous, I need to get away from them. And I don't think that people see the big picture with all of this. So that's why I think it's really important that we focus on this and try to get it. They need to be, well, I can't even talk. We need to let them be innocent until they get older, and parents can have conversations with their kids about this. It shouldn't be read out of a book or, frankly, taught by teachers in schools. That's just my personal opinion.
Right. And so in the title of your organization is Moms for Liberty. And folks that fight for liberty do not want to ban books and stuff. They just want to protect what the kids have available to them at a young age. When you become adults, you can do what you want to as long as you're not harming anyone else. That's my view on it. And even to the point where, hey, if you're that type of parent that wants to go out and buy that for your child to read, that's on you.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't do it. Not saying that at all, but it shouldn't be available to kids in public school libraries or private school libraries at that,
Right.
for kids to read behind the parents' back, and no one will inform the parents of what they're reading. So I know a couple years ago, 2018, 2019, we were in a society, this Me Too movement that was going on, that we were arguing over banning a song, a Christmas song that they play at Christmas, "Baby It's
Yeah.
Cold Outside," because it was supposedly talking about sexual assault and stuff, taking advantage of a young woman, a man taking advantage of a young woman. And so we went from that to the point now saying, oh, we'll let the kids read about it in the library at school.
Yeah. Or,
And
go to family friendly drag queen Christmas like we had in Knox, at the Tennessee Theater last year. I mean, so you're right. It's just nuts how what are the lyrics? Baby, it's cold outside. Just one more. I mean, it's a classic Christmas song that we've known our entire lives, right?
right.
And now you're right. Now we get to read. Now that we've gone completely bananas, and that's perfectly fine that they can have these graphic books in schools and go to drag queen Christmas shows. And I mean, your head spins. These were also the same people who are accusing us of trying to ban books, who wanted to ban Dr. Seuss books because they were racist. So it's really, in a way, it's hard to take them seriously when they say these things, because they basically say, what is they basically oh God, I can't even think of the word. Let me think. I'm got to slow myself down. They basically accuse you of doing exactly what they're doing. So
Right.
I think that we all have to keep this in a little bit of perspective. And I don't think it's a Republican or a Democrat partisan kind of topic. I think it's really about protecting kids, and most parents. I don't think whether you're a Democrat or you're not, or a Republican, that you would think that these books are okay to be in schools.
Yeah, and we'll get into that here just a minute, because I seen your video. I seen the video where you read part of this at the school board meeting, and as I told you, I want you to read some of the stuff. And so before we do this, I mean, and I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or not, Libertarian, whatever. If you hear this and you think that it's cool for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids to be reading this stuff in the school library, something's wrong. And I think most parents are going to listen to this and say, no, I don't care what party I'm affiliated with. This is wrong, especially if you claim to be a God-fearing Christian.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter.
And
So,
if you think it's okay, then I would suggest looking at yourself in the mirror as to why you think it's okay, for why you'd want your child or somebody else's child to read this stuff. If you're, like you said, if you're a parent and that's what you wanted your kids to read, we may not agree with it. It's a little unorthodox parenting style, but it's your child and you can do whatever you want. I just don't think that they should be, but if a parent doesn't know that their children are reading this stuff, then I don't think they belong in schools.
Yeah. And once you hear this and it's available in your school, then you should be speaking up. Because chances are your kid has the opportunity to get these books and read them and not tell you, unless there's some stuff here, and unless it traumatizes them and they really want to talk to you about it, you'll never know.
No.
So with that, I'm gonna stop right here, Mom.
Okay.
Moms, dads, And if you got kids in the room, this is one of the things that I told Sherry about offline. I take pride in this. I want my listeners to be able to sit down with their moms and dads, their pastor, whoever, their kids in the room and listen to my podcast. I don't want to hear them have a bunch of bad words and curse words and stuff coming over the air of my podcast. So if you got kids in the room or someone that you don't want to hear this, I would say cut it off right now and come back and listen to it later. So please do that. And I'm going to ask Sherry to go ahead and read some of this stuff that she sent me that's in the book. So go ahead, Sherry.
This is from a book called The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Steve Chbosky. I think they were both very drunk. He reached to take off her pants, but she started crying really hard, so he reached for his own. He pulled his pants and underwear down to his knees. Please, Dave, no. But the boy just talked soft to her about how good she looked and things like that, and she grabbed his penis with her hands and started moving it. I wish I could describe this a little more nicely without using words like penis, but that's the way it is. After a few minutes, the boy pushed the girl's head down and she started to kiss his penis. She was still crying. Finally, she stopped crying because he put his penis in her mouth, and I don't think she could cry in that position. I had to stop watching at that point because I started to feel sick, but it kept going on and they kept doing other things and she kept saying no.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
And I read this. No, I sent the video to my oldest son, who's a nurse, and he's 27 years old. And he texted me and he said, Mom, stop. I'm traumatized from hearing my mother read that out loud to me. I mean, he could not believe that this is available, for 14, 15-year-olds. This next book called Crank is in the middle schools. And this one is equally as bad. Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead, or do we have enough, Charles?
No, go.
Okay.
Go for it. I think people need to hear it.
Okay. Let's see. And this is Crank by Ellen Hopkins. And she has a bunch of different books that I'm researching it along with this one. But Crank is actually like methamphetamine. So when they talk about the monster, they're talking about the drug that they're all doing. Okay.
So not only are they having sex, they're doing drugs too.
Right.
Okay.
We laughed, but it wasn't all right. Not for long. My shirt tore open. Wait, I waited for weeks. Put up or shut up. Kisses segued to bites, bruises, pain rippled through my body. Brandon, please stop. No, you promised, you damn little tease. Oh, come off. Oh, off come my shorts. Down went a zipper. I realized I was in serious trouble. I'll scream. Go ahead. No one can hear you. But the skunks and the coyotes, still as I opened my mouth, his hand slapped down over it. Those sublime muscles hardened. Just relax, you'll love it. My brand new Victoria's Secret shredded, and I felt the worst of Brendan's paws, savoring my terror. They all love it. Had he done it in a different way, maybe I would have responded with excitement. Instead, I froze as he pushed inside. There it is. Oh God, there it goes. It went all right, with an audible tear. Pain mushroomed into agony, and all I could do was go stiff. You weren't lying, you bitch. I said. I laid there sobbing as he worked and sweated over me. Stoked by the monster, it took him a long time to finish. Give me a line, I'll give you an encore. He pulled away, sticky and bloody, throbbing inside and out. I didn't move. I didn't dare look him in the eye.
Sexual assault, rape, and drugs.
And drugs. Yeah.
And I believe there's an extra portion to that as the results of what happened. Care
You
to
have
read
it?
that?
You want me to?
Yes.
So you're making me do the dirty work here.
Well,
No, I'm happy to. It's fine. It's
sorry.
fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Make love to me, please. I don't care who sees. He might have, but just then his watch beeped too. No way. Come on, let's go. Finally, I went to the payphone and made 2 calls, one to Planned Parenthood, the other to Chase. I already knew my options. I listened patiently as the saccharine Miss Sweetwater outlined them again. She did confirm that should I choose abortion, my parents wouldn't have to know. All I needed was $500 and someone to drive me home. The bitch queen, what would I tell her now? That I was pregnant, that I was pregnant because I was raped, that I was raped because I would have done anything for just one more taste of the monster? Where would I find such nerve without crank to put in my mouth? So she was under the influence of, the drugs and got herself, and you notice how she blames the drugs instead of the boy. And
Right.
so we're talking about abortion. We're talking about an abortion without telling your parents. And what are we teaching boys with some of this stuff too?
Right.
It's not okay. So it's not just the girls that this is dangerous for, but also for our young men who, we can't have them thinking that this is okay.
Yeah. And then the boy is not held responsible.
Right.
As you said, the drug was blamed instead of the boy high on drugs. And, sexually assaulting, raping this young girl. This is what the book says.
And this is for middle schoolers. So what are they, like 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there? The age group?
Yeah. 11, 12, 13, most
And
time.
I called the librarian at the school and I said, hi, hey, I was just wondering if you had this book in the library, if you had Crank in the library. And she said, oh, let me check. And so she comes back on, she goes, yeah, we've got it. And I said, oh, great. Well, I'll be sure to tell my daughter so she can come and pick it up. And that was, of course I was pretending that this was going to happen,
Right.
but just, I don't necessarily blame the librarian. I don't know that she knows, what's in this book, because how many do they get a day, or, they can't read them all. And I think that's also something that we are asking the school board to do. We tried originally to get some of these books removed with the obscenity law. There was a law passed in 2021 for minors that you couldn't have these kind of materials or publish them or print them or have anything that's over sexually explicit. And we came to find out that schools and governments they're all exempt from it. So we thought we would have a way to just, get rid of them right away. And so when we found out we couldn't do that, we read these books in front of the school board, and I don't think that they actually knew what was in these books until they heard it. They were just staring at us with blank faces because it was, terrible. It was very upset. It's hard to read in front of a group of people. And we're also, the other thing that I found that I think that they have a policy where a parent or a student or an employee of the schools can report a book and they'll review it and decide what to do with it. But I don't think that parents and kids, I can't see that they're going to want to be what about putting one of these reports in and having the kids in school say, well, your mom's trying to get books banned. It's not, and it's not a very efficient way of dealing with it either, because like I said, they're different books in different schools. And so it's just really hit or miss and whack-a-mole. And then who's reviewing them? Who's making the ultimate decision? What criteria are they, going to use to look at these books? So there just needs to be either a better policy, have them taken out, maybe segregated. Maybe parents should have to sign a permissions, slip to say that they can take out these books. there's got to be a better way to tackle this than hit or miss like we're doing right now.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and read this other one that
Ooh,
you
okay.
sent me. And so it's not all just boy, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this one is, and this was read on the Senate floor in a Senate committee by Senator Kennedy from Louisiana.
Louisiana. Mm-hmm.
And it's the title of the book is called All Boys Aren't Blue, a memoir manifesto, George M. Johnson. And I think this book is at Hardin Valley. Is that correct? That's what it says here.
It is. It's also, I think, in Fulton High School as well.
Yeah.
I haven't researched all of it yet. So those are the two I found so far.
It's an excerpt from page 208. It says, I remember the condom was blue and flavored like cotton candy. I put some lube on and got him on his knees and began to slide into him from behind. I tried not to force it because I imagined that it would be painful, so I eased in slowly until I heard him moan. As we moved, I could tell that he was excited, and I was too, but the pride in me told me not to show it. This is ridiculous. I felt like I was in control and proud of myself for getting it right on the first try. And while we were still being nervous, I wanted to stay dominant in the moment. We went for about 15 minutes before I started to get that feeling, weak in the legs, numb in the waist, and finally came and let out a loud moan to the point where he asked me to quiet down for the neighbors. I pulled him out and kissed him while he masturbated.
I mean, I'm embarrassed just listening to this.
I mean,
I'm on your podcast with somebody that I just met a few minutes ago, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of upsetting, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
Imagine, but a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old, that's fine. That's great. It blows your mind.
And the thing is, you know how kids are. They see this, they don't comprehend what this really is, and they joke and laugh and cut up about it. And then the next thing you know, they're wanting to experiment or something. This is
go ahead.
This is what in our schools.
And honestly, it's going to take some time for me to find, me and the girls, the gang, to find some more of these. I've found several others. There's a graphic novel called Blankets that I just discovered yesterday. And it's like a cartoon, and it has pictures of sex acts.
Right.
And so every time I think I found the last of it, there's another one to check out. So I am hopeful. There was a law that the Representative Sapicki, I think is his name, in Tennessee, in the state house, that put together House Bill 1944 that would have rescinded the exemption for schools. So had that passed, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. They would just be out. And it went up to the Senate, and 4 Republicans and a Democrat decided to send it to summer study. So the bill didn't go through, was never passed. And, you feel like there's got to be an easier way. And, we continue. I know Republicans, generally speaking, we say the left is crazy, and they are, they're a little nutty, but it's our own people a lot of the time that are keeping us from doing, doing the right things here. And this also comes down to a moral choice. our kids are learning things in schools now. They're being indoctrinated. And I would rather, if they're going to be indoctrinated, I'd rather have them learn about the history of our country, learn to love our country, learn how to read, write, do math, and all of these extra things that are coming in. It's all just, it's distracting. It doesn't go towards education. And I really would appreciate it if we could get some laws passed, and the people that we elect to do the right thing, the moral thing, would do it once in a while. That is disappointing. I'm hoping that that law will come back up, that bill will come back up maybe this session, and perhaps we can get, something done with it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm pretty liberty minded about things, and I don't think people should be telling me what I can and can't do.
Mhm.
If I want to do things at my house, whatever. But when you let kids be exposed to this, what would have happened 40 years ago when I was in high school if the principal come out and put sexually explicit magazines, Playboy, Playgirl, all these other magazines into the library for the teenagers, middle schoolers to look at? Well, they're curious. They're going to see it somewhere else. Might as well just let them. What would our parents done? What would society think?
I think they would have been fired immediately for that. That just never happened when I was in public school back in the 80s. That's the thing. Like, we make excuses now for men wearing dresses in front of children on a stage to, dancing around to music. But Charles, if you wore a dress and went to a playground in front of children, they would handcuff you and take you to jail.
Right.
So, 15 minutes ago, we were all protecting kids. Now the things that we allow, it just blows my mind. And like we have said many times, you want to do this with your kids, that's fine. But I don't think in public schools that are funded by taxpayer dollars that we need to have this kind of stuff available for young children. It's really dangerous for them.
And we hear this talk about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is an issue. Well, you tell me how some kids reading this trash, like this rape,
Mm-hmm.
and then them thinking, oh, that's cool. Everybody at school's read it. It's funny. And then they go out and act this out. The teenage boy begins to think it's okay to treat women that way. And the teenage girl society thinks it's okay for her to be treated that way.
Right.
And then we wonder why we're having such mental health issues
Mm-hmm.
when it's being fed in the schools.
And
holy cow.
women and girls don't recover from rape. You're never the same after being sexually assaulted like that. And for the boys, you could absolutely ruin your life, be on a sex offender list for the rest of your life, be in jail. Criminal charges can be brought up. But in their defense, if this is what we're teaching, if this is what we're allowing to be taught and what we're condoning in our schools, is it, like you said, is it that how we, and then we wonder why we're having these issues and the mental health issues with our kids. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, some of this is just too much for them at their ages.
Yeah. And for the young boys, I read it in a book that I got in the school library. It must be okay for me to treat a girl like this. Instead of saying, well, number one, you shouldn't be doing this in the first place. You shouldn't be doing the drugs. You should be parking out in the woods, having sex in a car or whatever, as people used to call it back in our ancient days of parking,
Right.
but but they seem to think that this is okay. And then they end up having their life ruined. And the mental health issue of it and everything, it's just, I think it's time for parents to speak up and say, get this trash out of our schools.
And parents really do need to be more engaged. I understand. I mean, I had 3 little boys, and it was all I could do to get their homework done and get the laundry done and get them ready for school the next day. But we are in a different place now, and really parents need to step up and monitor what their kids are reading and what they're doing, what the teachers are sending home for homework. And you can get involved. You can get involved with Moms for Liberty or there are other Liberty groups out there. We focus on parental rights and protecting kids, but we also don't want to lose America. I mean, that is also part
Right.
of what we believe. And I think we're heading down a really terrible road. And, you know, the Marxists, the communists, I know I probably sound like I need to be wearing a tinfoil hat right now, but they always come after the kids first. Mao did
Yes.
it. Hitler did it. Stalin, Castro, they try to brainwash the children, because once all of this becomes, like I said, normalized and just part of your life, then you're much easier, it's much easier to make you down with the revolution. And, I you just want your kids, to be brought up with your values, whatever those are, and be okay and be able to be good, productive adults, but they also need to be kids. And this stuff just steals their childhood, I think, away from them if they see this kind of stuff too early.
Right. Yeah. It's
I know it's upsetting.
it's a tough conversation tonight, and but it has to be done. It has to be. This conversation needs to happen, and unfortunately, when you do podcast, sometimes you have to cover the bad things too, and but it's the only way we're going to get people to notice what's going on and get involved. So thank you, Sherry, for joining me. And folks, as she said, go on the school website, the library website, whatever it is, and look, do some Googling, find out what other cities and counties and states have
Right.
found, and then look and see if it's in your child's library. And then you need to get involved, because maybe it's not your child that it affects, but it's someone else's child. And they're going to go through that too, and whether it's my child or not, none of these kids need to be put through this and have this available to them. So, and that's my spiel about it. I mean, so Sherry, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, we would love to have, if you're in Knox County or a surrounding county that doesn't have, close by, that doesn't have a Moms for Liberty, dads, grandparents, you don't have to have kids. You could be a homeschool mom. You don't even have to have kids in public schools. If you're looking at, if you want to look out for parental rights, protecting your kids and defending our Constitution and our way of life, we would love to have you. You can go to the momsforliberty.com website and find the chapters, and then it will show you where Knox County is, and you can get in touch with us that way on our chapter page, as my phone number and emails. And if you find books, hey, you can send them to me via email. Join our Facebook group, and just do as much as you want or as little as you want, but get engaged. We would love to have the help. And I want to thank you, Charles, for having me. I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, and welcome back anytime. And and when I sign off here, stay online, okay?
Okay, sure will.
But yeah, I'd love to have you back and find out more of what's going on, some of the things that you're working on. This is not a one-time deal where everything gets fixed with one podcast. It's about exposing it. And unfortunately, when you pull a scab off, it's going to bleed.
Mhm.
And there's ugly stuff that comes out like we read tonight. And I'm still uncomfortable with it, but it has to be done.
I know.
And
I'm gonna go take a shower after this to wipe the yuck off of us.
yeah, but but you got to do it you got to
That's good.
do it to get this out. And and here's what I'll say. We now understand why private schools are exploding all over the country. If public schools were so great, these private schools wouldn't be popping up. And a lot of parents are choosing to homeschool. If I had young kids now starting in school, I would be homeschooling.
Yeah, so would I.
But here's the thing, not every kid can be homeschooled or go to a private school. That's why it doesn't matter whether your kid's in a private school, your kid is out of school or whatever, or you homeschool, you should take this seriously and get involved with it, because it's someone else's kid, and that kid down the line may affect your family somehow.
Right. I mean, these are the kids that they're going to go to work with, they're going to go to college with, that one of your kids may end up dating one of these kids. And so, yeah, even if you're a homeschool mom or a private school family, it's about all the kids, and we would love to have any of you come and help.
Yep. So, all right. Thank you, Sherry. Sherry Super from Knox County Moms for Liberty. Thank you for coming on. Good
welcome.
information, hard information. It's hard to take to know that that's there with the kids, but I thank you for coming on and sharing this with us. I know it was kind of tough for you to do, but tough people step up in tough times, and thank you for that. I know it's hard, and and so with that, I say God bless you. Thank you all for watching this, and please share it. People need to understand, moms and dads, grandmothers, grandfathers, share this video so people will understand what is being made available to our kids in schools. All right. God bless you. Have a good evening. We'll see you on the next podcast. Bye-bye.